This is how I get into stuff. So I'd say once or twice a year I revisit the Charles Manson shit. I love the Charles Manson stuff in LA.
I saw you post on the story.
Dude, so I was listening to this podcast. It kept talking about Spahn Ranch, and I never knew. I don't know why. I never looked it up. I never knew where it was at. And so the podcast I was listening to on my bike ride, they said Spahn Ranch, and then they said an area, Chatsworth, and I'm like, Chatsworth? I'm like, why have I heard of that? And I'm like, oh, I know where the fuck that's at. It's not too far from my house. So then on my bike, I was on there. I looked up Spahn Ranch. I'm like, oh fuck, it's only like 11 miles from me. So I rode my bike to Spahn Ranch, son. So Spahn Ranch is where Charles Manson and the family, like all the girls, they lived there for 2 years. So that's where supposedly, and we can get into that. Supposedly that's where he came up with the plan to helter skelter, kill Sharon Tate. That's where he'd write his songs, his music, and all that. Mm-hmm. That's where all the girls were. That's where like the music producer would visit the ranch and see him play his tunes and shit. So you go there. It's a little airy, but the Manson.
So he only just had a bunch of girls.
No, he wanted more guys because he wanted like muscle, but a lot of guys like didn't really fuck with him. Like they thought he was weird. The only reason anyone kind of chilled with him is because those girls, they could have whatever they want with the girls. Yeah. So like Terry Melcher and like the Beach Boy guy who was really into him, who had helped him out. Yeah. And they would chill at the Beach Boy's house in the hills. He would only fuck with him because he had all these hot girls. Yeah. And he could fuck all the girls. Mm-hmm. And then they
but he didn't really do anything.
Who?
Or
the beach guy. The
beach guy. He fucked the girls, but that's it.
That's it.
And
he wasn't
then he thought Charles Manson had talent. Yeah. And then Charles Manson wrote a song, and then he took that song and put it on the Beach Boys album and gave Charles Manson no credit. Oh. And so that pissed Charles Manson off.
So he was actually a good musician.
He was good. He was just like undisciplined. So like when they would put him in a studio, so that Beach Boy guy and Terry Melcher hooked him up and put him in studios to get him passed by like Sony and Universal. But he'd get to where they like audition him is what you say. He'd get to the sound stage and then he'd fight with the like control guy because the guy'd be like, hey, try this or try this. And he like pulled a knife on one of the guys. Like he's just wild. God he's just like an outlaw. So like people are like, oh, we can't deal with this dude. Yeah. And he didn't have the talent like undeniable. Yeah. Like if Drake's and that motherfucker pulls a knife, everyone's like, all right, we'll figure it out. All right, Charles Manson, like, dude, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, because he wasn't really anything.
No, but at the time he was, he's like this hippie.
Is he from here?
I think no, he's not from here. Yeah. He's not from here. But what's weird about Charles Manson is like, with like the fake news and like they're putting the Corona fear in everybody. Yeah. The Russia fake news and all, like the media now is like, right? They just they get views and hits off fear, like selling people fear. That's what they do, like CNN and shit. Mm-hmm. But
this was real.
A little bit, but like even back then, like they were doing the same shit with Charles Manson, like the Tom O'Neill who wrote Chaos, and he gets into it about the CIA and Charles Manson working with the CIA and doing all this shit in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. Like the whole Helter Skelter thing and like the whole like he was this mastermind, all this, like that was a narrative that the media created. Like Charles Manson's like, what the fuck? Like but Charles Manson's like, I didn't even like the Beatles.
They did that to catch eyes on him. Like to
they did it because it was like, think of the narrative. Like it's the most infamous. Yeah, they call him a serial killer. It doesn't make sense. So, but he's the most infamous serial killer of our time. Mm-hmm. And like that whole narrative was it was out of the Helter Skelter book that the Belushi wrote. Like that whole narrative, the prosecution kind of made up to pitch to the courts. Yeah, and then the news got a hold of it. And they're, and they said he was going to try killing Steve McQueen and Elton John and like all these like super famous people.
But so I can't remember if you told me this or someone told me. Did they like give him like LSD?
Yeah, they asked him LSD in Haight-Ashbury and like in prison, and he would go to those. And so the feds or DA would have houses where they'd give like Johns, as they call them, they get them in with girls.
And that was in the hills.
Yeah, no, that was in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco.
Oh, got it.
So he'd give him all this LSD and then and acid and all this shit. Then in that Chaos book they talk about like they knew where Charles Manson was at, and they would like the cops would like, oh, we're gonna go get him. Like he's on, don't touch him right now. Yeah, and like he got away so many times. And, like his parole officer never fucked. Like they would let him like travel when he shouldn't. Like it's super suspect.
So you think they set him up?
No, I think he's crazy. I think he's an
Oh,
evil,
you do
he's an evil
think he's
dude.
crazy.
I just don't buy the narrative. But he also, he told, maybe the narrative is he told those people to kill everybody. But then it's like he's not a killer. You know what I'm saying? Like the real killer is Tex Watson, who's his muscle.
Yeah.
And Tex Watson, he did an interview, and those tapes has never been released, ever.
Yeah.
Because he didn't go on the narrative that Helter Skelter. So you know what Helter Skelter's from? Helter Skelter.
Beatles?
Yeah, Helter Skelter is a song from the Beatles. Helter Skelter is a famous roller coaster in England. So it's not like
Oh.
this evil
It sounds evil as fuck.
Helter Skelter because we associate with Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Beatles are like, bitch, that's a roller coaster in England. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you call it
Yeah.
Six Flags.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's just like, that ride.
It's a ride. If we call it Magic Mountain or Splash Mountain.
yeah.
It's weird, dude. You look into it, it's interesting. But then
Damn, see,
That ride is to die for.
and the reason, one of the reasons he got caught is because that I think her name's Susan Atkins. She got picked up for something else, and she was in prison. She started bragging about the murders, and then one of her cellmates was like, "I got to tell someone about this." And then when they killed Sharon Tate, like it was just
how'd they kill her?
dude. So it was
It was
like,
fucked up, huh?
dude, you want me to talk about it?
I mean, yeah, let's get into it.
So
You didn't even let me
So-
answer. You looked at me.
So Sharon Tate, who's
Executive
pretty
decision.
famous, right? Pretty famous, super
Yeah.
gorgeous. Sharon Tate, and then the Folger daughter, who
the
Coffee?
coffee. Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
you thought billionaire.
I seen her. Yeah.
And then there was like two other people in the house. One was a guy. So two girls, two guys, and Sharon Tate.
Yes.
Now that old house used to be Terry Melcher's house. He owns it, but he rented it out to them.
Got it.
To Polanski, who was Sharon Tate's husband.
Roman.
But Terry Melcher was the owner, and also Terry Melcher was the guy who could give Charles Manson's record contract. So Charles Manson and Tex Watson went to that house way before, having parties. They'd go there for parties, and he was the guy who was the key to his success. Like he thought he was going to be the Beatles. He thought he was going to be like
Charles Manson did.
He thought he was going to be like Jim Morrison. His whole family thought he was going to be like Jim Morrison.
Oh.
So they thought, so when they just were like, fuck it, you're not getting a record deal, nothing like that. That's when he was like, fuck these people. These rich people are taking from us. We're going to kill the rich. So he went to the house not knowing Sharon Tate or Folger was in there. They just knew that somebody rich was in there. It wasn't like a hit on
Oh,
Sharon
it wasn't
Tate.
like, oh, we're
No,
going
they
to get
just knew,
Sharon
like
Tate.
they went to the house previously to talk to Terry Melcher, and they're like, Terry Melcher doesn't live here. This is Roman Polanski's house. And like, oh, and then Sharon Tate walked out, and he saw her. He's like, damn, she's hot. And then left. Didn't think anything of it. And then when he came up with the plan to kill everybody, he sent them there, Tex Watson and the three girls, he sent them there and was like, just kill the rich people and make it look real gory. So Sharon Tate was pregnant as fuck. They killed her. They stabbed the baby. They stabbed her a shit ton. The dude, they stabbed like a jigillion fucking times. Like you're talking about awful.
How much is that?
Gazillion. That's
a ton. But Tex Watson did almost all the killing. Gnarly shit, dude.
And she just happened to be there.
They were just there.
Kill the rich.
Yeah, kill the rich, and then the
Because he was mad at the record labels.
yeah,
Yeah,
because he
but-
thought it was like their
Why
way.
did he go after the record labels?
It was like their way. Well, he wanted to because he thought Roman Polanski lived there.
And that's a house they got up for sale now. Bro, this shit is wild.
It's wild.
Shit was different back then.
It's kind of complex, but
But then when you watch all of Charles Manson's like interviews, which I've watched a ton of them, he's never admitted. Like he's like, I didn't kill those people. He's like this whole like hippie thing and family. He's like, I don't know what the fuck people are talking about. And then he goes, I tried shaving before this interview, but they wanted me to look crazy, so I have to leave my hair long and have this fucking
so
beard,
what
so I look crazy.
So
to
what
you guys.
explains the swastika on his head?
He had to in prison. He had to side with the Aryan Nation so they would protect him because everyone wanted to fucking
wanted to kill him, so he had to.
Oh,
So
for real?
he's like, oh, I'll link up with the Aryan Nation. So that's when he did all that shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
And they protected him.
That makes sense because
But
a lot of
he wanted
Yeah.
muscle, so there was I think they're called the Straight Satans, was a motorcycle gang, and they used to hang out at the ranch and fuck all the girls, and he tried like getting them to jump on board with him, and they were like, get the fuck out of here. Like no one took him serious.
No one took him serious.
Uh-uh.
And he's just trying to make music.
And you know
this guy was just trying
Also,
to make
you know what else is
music.
surprising about Charles Manson? You know he's 5'4",
He was a little dude.
tiny dude.
a lot of these guys are short. Though.
Was he beating? He didn't touch anybody.
Well, he might have shot a guy, but no, he would get in a fight, but he didn't do any of those murders.
Is that
Now he did tie up the family in Los Feliz. He went in and tied that.
Did
family.
he kill him?
Nope, he left.
He just left. Oh, they were just tied up there.
And then
are they good?
And then the Sharon.
They alive?
They murdered him. And then the Sharon Tate family. Once Tex came back to the ranch, was like, "Yo, we killed him."
He's 5'2".
5'2", bro.
Wow.
And
He's my
that's
size.
Wikipedia 5'2". So he's probably
Yeah, he's from
5'1".
Cincinnati. He's from Cincinnati.
Uh-huh.
That's where White Mike is from.
White Mike.
Yep.
See, victims 9, but the family says they killed 35.
What does that mean? Killed by proxy.
He didn't do it himself. He had someone else do it.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Like
So,
Like in
so
a
it'd be like
hitman.
it'd be like saying a mafia boss is a serial killer because he orders the killings. But you
Got
never
it.
you never
Al
call a
Capone?
mafia guy. You never call like Gambino or like any of these high level Gotti a serial killer. But they've
Yeah.
killed way more people. The narrative's weird to me.
Shout
man.
out to Boardwalk Empire.
It's all super weird.
damn.
Yeah, but
But when he did that, like LA was freaking the fuck out. So all the famous people had private security. You couldn't buy any German Shepherds. Guns went out
Why?
of stock because everyone thought like this killer was on the loose. It took them forever to catch him, by the way.
Oh, to catch
Yeah,
Manson?
Yeah, this
and
is
this is
all
what else is
ongoing.
weird.
Yeah.
Is so they kill.
This story is crazy.
Here's what's nuts. So they kill a guy in Topanga. He was a music instructor. They killed him. They killed the Sharon Tate family. Then the next day they killed the family in Los Feliz. The stupid fucking cops didn't put any of it together. They were working individual cases. They didn't think it was associated with each other.
it was
They never put it together till after. So it took forever.
So I have two questions. So when the triangle, like you say, it took them a minute to put it together, and it was
Because
all
you're talking about
working
different
separate cases.
precincts. So you're
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about past. You're talking about Los Feliz.
Yeah.
You're talking about LA, LAPD,
And then Topanga.
which
Exactly.
is different jurisdictions.
Yeah, but don't the police like reach out to these jurisdictions?
Not back then.
No.
No,
But now they do.
They had like it was like now they do. Because like even like the Golden State Killer, so he would kill all up and down the coast.
Yeah.
He'd kill in one jurisdiction, kill here. They never put it together. So back then they'd have to call him like, hey, have you?
That's how those motherfuckers get away.
Yeah. Not now. Now it's all over. Like
How
they're
long did it
fucked.
take them to catch Jeffrey Dahmer?
A hot second.
Really?
A hot second.
So back then, killing was like easy to get away with.
Way easier. Think about it. No cameras.
No cameras.
There's a street camera everywhere.
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 People don't even know.
Nothing.
But that's so.
And then what Charles Manson would do is he would get these girls who had like broken families, like lost, and he'd be just like kill them with kindness, and then give them all these drugs like LSD. And if you're a part of the family, you couldn't. There's no alcohol. He didn't believe in drinking. You could do a bunch of like LSD and acid and shit and marijuana, but no drinking.
well,
and
how
so
the
then
girls
if
are
he-
supposed to turn up?
LSD, but then he'd get him real high and then like spit all this shit at him, all this knowledge. So they thought he was like second coming of fucking Jesus Christ.
Oh, so this is like he had them in a cult.
Oh,
It
dude.
was a cult. And they called
It was a
themselves the
cult.
family?
Yeah. Someone else gave him that name, The Family. They did an article on him in Rolling Stones. They gave him the name of Family. He never referred to himself as a cult or family. It's super interesting.
It's kind of
What's weird to me is that this is where it all relies on Tex Watson's.
His name's Text?
Tex. He's from Texas.
T-E-X. Oh, got it.
Tex. They call him Tex Watson. He was the muscle. He's the one who did all the murdering. He was a fucking brutal.
And how big was he?
Can you look at
Not
Text?
huge, but it all. If you want to know what happens, those tapes they've never released them. Those are those tapes will tell us what's going on.
Is he still alive?
I don't know. He's in prison for life.
6'2".
Not that big.
Not small though. Especially you got to think about the people
Back
he's killing.
then,
He's still in jail.
Oh, he's still in jail?
According to
denied.
not Wikipedia. But
He's in San Diego.
you want to go now?
I'm gonna drive down
I
there.
was about to say, hey, what's your side of the story?
Does he?
I would love to hear it because they say they won't release his because his narrative on like the killings isn't the helter skelter. Like he's like, what? No, we weren't killing fucking. That's not why we did it. And we weren't trying to start a race war. Like none of that stuff.
But then that's what the late, like you said, the media.
The
painted
Helter
it.
Skelter book, which
Yeah.
is one of the best-selling books of all time, it was that painted that narrative.
Exactly.
Helter Skelter,
Oh, that's him
But
right now?
it got a lot of eyes, like you said. The attention.
More
a
recent.
shit ton.
His eyes.
What'd you say?
Said more recent.
More
at least.
recent.
2014. This is him.
That's him in 2014.
It feel like
Still looks young.
Yeah,
it look like he got his life together.
I know,
Like,
right? What the fuck?
He teach kids in prison.
Yeah,
I like that.
but people didn't want to kill him. He didn't get linked up with the Aryan Nation.
No one fucked with him.
You ain't.
He's all
But
smiling and shit.
He was the one who did all
the
the
fuck?
he was the one that did all the killing. All the killing.
This
He-
guy.
He's the bad guy. And no one talks about him.
Maybe he just want his credit. That's why he just.
But Charles Manson, like if you watch Geraldo Rivera did an interview with him, and he's like, people think you're a killer and stuff like that. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, the family's like, it's not a cult. And then he's like, well, you seem crazy. He's like, wouldn't you be pissed if you've been locked up for 18 years and people keep painting this narrative like you're this fucking monster all the time?
Yeah.
He's like, you guys are scared of me? He's like, me?
And
He's
then
like,
he goes into
and
prison.
he was
and
kind of the first one. He's like, that's fake news, man. He's like, this narrative you guys are painting isn't real.
got it. And then he goes into prison and they want to kick his ass.
So he gets with Aryan
So he gets
Nation.
Aryan Nation.
And then he had such control over the girls. When he was on trial, he shaved his head. They all shaved their head. He put an X here. They put an X there. Crazy shit, dude. But that Susan Atkins a piece of shit. She did she's the one that stabbed Sharon Tate in the stomach. Had no remorse for
She
it.
alive?
Well, she looks crazy.
She's a real piece of shit.
She got a pimple on her lip. What is that?
Yeah, she got a blister
I
on
don't
her
know what
lip.
that
It looks like a cold sore.
Was
In
there a bump
prison?
on her head
In
too?
prison?
Yeah, a lot of them had STDs because the whole family, like someone would get it, they would all get it because he used to sleep with everybody.
Yeah.
She's the one that killed Sharon Tate. She says it was Tex Watson later down, after, but years later. But
Yeah.
it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Well, in lighter news, got
In lighter news.
But
yeah.
that Spahn Ranch, that Spahn Ranch is interesting because you can go down there see where they're all chilling. Like some of their rusted out like shits on the ground, where they were hiding out in there's there still.
Where they took shits?
I'm sure they shit somewhere.
Oh, I thought that's what you were saying. Like, what do you mean rusted shit?
So that Susan Atkins person died in 2009.
right there.
Oh, she did?
That's,
Bro, this whole thing seems exhausting.
Oh, it's super interesting though, especially if you read that Chaos book where it goes into like.
No, I'm just talking
The
about all
conspiracy?
that they did. It seems so exhausting.
But
I'm too lazy for
you
shit
know,
like that.
you know what's weird to think about? Like what would have happened if they would have gave Charles Manson a record contract? None of this would have happened if they just went, here, dude. Yeah, play your music. There's no murder.
Well, he also could have went independent. What the fuck? Did he not
could've
think
jumped
about
on-
that?
Back then, there was no independent. There was no independent. But now he could have jumped on SoundCloud. You know what I'm saying?
SoundCloud.
What year was it?
69.
69?
August 69.
Damn, if fucking
If there was
someone just would've spoke
SoundCloud,
to him.
that's what I'm saying. If you would
He's
just
like,
give him
hey,
a
man,
record
you go
deal,
independent. You do it yourself.
you can do it yourself.
Yeah, you do it
But he
yourself.
obviously,
Do your own
obviously had
booking.
some talent. If like the Beach Boys guy fucked with him, this Terry
Yeah.
Melcher fucked with him, like he must have
Yeah.
been doing something. How about when I got off stage at the Laugh Factory? Right away, you go, bro, I figured out what you look like. I'm like, what? This is in front of a bunch of other comics. I'm like, what? You're like, you look like a Rottweiler who got his shit together.
Oh, you do, bro. Yeah.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, dude.
Grab that mic, son.
You do. Look, bro, look.